Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. I feel like this video is a long time coming. I've been asked these questions a million times, and the funny thing is I've yet to ever put all of this information in one video. So today we're doing a deep dive. Retinol, retinoids, the classification, how to get started, what they are, myths about my favorite products, things to know, things to avoid. We're going through everything about this GOAT skincare ingredient, holy grail anti-aging that you might need to know before you try one for yourself. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay friends, I can't tell you how many times I have talked about retinoids on my channel or over on Instagram or wherever the case may be. It is the epitome of the anti-aging ingredient. There is no ingredient in the world without more research to back it up. And it's the #1 thing I recommend if anti-aging is your concern, that you have in your skincare regimen, especially if you have an established regimen and you want to see results. Now, this is going to be a long-term solution, in my opinion. If you're looking for an instantaneous brightening effect, glow, like you're looking for like right away, this is not your answer. But if you're wanting to age gracefully as well as possible, you need a retinoid in your skincare regimen. And I'm not talking about falling prey to marketing of like all natural alternatives. Their research is on retinoids is an umbrella term for any vitamin A derivative, a class of molecules. There's no such thing, like you can't go look for something that says retinoid on it. It's just the term for this type of molecule. And that is where we're gonna be talking about topical retinoids in particular. So what are all these benefits that I'm talking about? If you're looking for one thing to do everything, I'm gonna say it's a retinoid. The biggest thing is it increases your skin cell turnover, and not just because as you age, our cycle of how fast our skin cells turn over decreases so much, but it also regulates it, and so that it becomes a regular cycle instead of slowing down year by year. This is called the desquamation process, the process of our skin cells turning over like that. And so it's different than exfoliation. And so a lot of times you'll hear a lot of myths about retinoids in general, and one of them say that it's an exfoliant. It is not an exfoliant per se, although it does help to clear out your pores. It is through this process of skin cell turnover. It will not help pores shed off like by a physical exfoliant or like a chemical exfoliant. It regulates it, but it's not technically an exfoliant, okay? It also, and I feel like this is the biggest one, it increases collagen synthesis. Not only collagen, also elastin. So if you don't know, collagen is what kind of gives us that plump look to our skin. It holds everything in place. When our face and our skin starts sagging, that is a loss of collagen. When you don't have the bounce back, that is a loss of elastin. But it also decreases breakdown of collagen. So as we age again, collagen is constantly breaking down, and we're no longer making more of it. So not only does it make more of it, it also makes sure we're not breaking it all down in the process as well. It's like win-win. It decreases the formation of comedone, which reduces the amount of clogged pores. This is why it is an amazing acne ingredient. Skin cell turnover, this is why it helps uneven skin tone and texture. It repairs sun damage over time. Also why it helps dullness, decreases fine lines, wrinkles, scarring, discoloration. I could go on and on and on, because really all of the things we want our skin to do, retinoids do. You will hear a lot of myths about retinoids, especially on social media nowadays. And one of the biggest ones I hear all the time is that it thins your skin. This cannot be more wrong. People who understand science, understand anatomy, actually have a degree in biology as well. Chemistry was my thing, so I consider myself more of a chemist than a biologist, but I understand anatomy, what the skin looks like. And the thing is, it doesn't thin your skin. It actually, very, very top layer of your epidermis, stratum corneum, it actually compacts that. It like reorganizes it, makes it stronger, more resilient, a stronger barrier, if you will, which makes it look thinner, I guess you could say. But in turn, it's building this collagen, it's building this elastin. What does that do? It actually creates the dermis to thicken over time, which actually makes your skin thicker. It is like literally the opposite of what people think and say. I'm gonna myth bust a few things as we go along, but that's the first one. It does not thin your skin. It is the GOAT ingredient because it does virtually everything you want from a skincare ingredient. So next, let's go over the different types of retinoids. So like I said, you'll never find the word retinoid on an ingredient label, but you're gonna find a whole lot of different derivatives that are derived from vitamin A that also give you similar results. And I will be honest, they're all a little different. The majority of the research you are going to see is on retinoic acid, which is the active form of what will do the most good for your skin, I guess you could say. But that is not saying that all of these other ones aren't gonna give benefits. All of them do have different benefits. They're just all a little different on how they work inside your skin. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about these options later, but I'm gonna kind of show you what an example is as we go through each type. So the first one is a Retinyl Ester. Okay, this is a famous one from France that you might see people talk about. This is the most gentle. So if you think of an hierarchy of all the different retinoids umbrella, this one has to go through the most conversions to get to the active form retinoic acid. So this one is 3 steps away from actively doing something in your skin, okay? It's super gentle. It is a cult favorite for a reason. Many people might like to begin with something like this because the potential for irritation is very, very low. So if you think I have tried every retinoid and every different process, which I will kind of explain what I recommend and how to go about introducing one. But if you feel like you've done all of that and you still haven't tried this one, I'd recommend this one or another one I'm gonna get to in a second. The next one is Retinol with an OL, okay? This is the one you see most on the shelves at Walgreens, CVS, Target. It is in the majority of products out there. And this is 2 steps away from the active form. So it has to penetrate your skin first of all, and then it has to be converted times to get to that active form. One does have an irritation and dryness potential. Now, you will see a lot of things on today's market. Technology has come a long way. This is not the same retinol that they had a long time ago. This one, you'll see right on the label, is encapsulated. So when you see something encapsulated, that is because retinol as a whole is an unstable compound, okay? So in order to get it to actually be stable enough to first go through your skin, then get converted 2 times. There is a process to it, right? Not everything gets converted 100%. That's the nature of chemistry. To get it to actually go into the skin first, which people like to seem to think that everything you put on your skin gets absorbed. That is also not the case. And so it's kind of a delivery system, that encapsulation, helps it get through the skin, first of all, and then it also protects it and is like a slow release. So if you get a lot of irritation from just using a retinol, say that's not encapsulated, if you've never tried one that's encapsulated, it might help you a lot because it has like, it will slowly get converted, meaning it's just not gonna like immediately all work at the same time, if that makes sense. You're still gonna have those in your skin that'll slowly be getting released from their capsules in order to start working at different points. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of technology. I would say not everyone is maybe using the same encapsulation method or anything like that, but just know that if you see encapsulated, that is a good thing. That is only gonna mean gentler, more effective, and more likely to go through the full conversion process to retinoic acid. Next one is my personal favorite, the one you've probably heard me talk about the most, which is Retinaldehyde, also known as Retinal with an AL, not to be confused with Retinol, OL. I feel like so many people don't realize there's even more than one, okay? This one is one step away from retinoic acid. So it is going to be more effective, more will be converted. And in my opinion, I feel like depending on the formulation, because I will be honest, formulations make a huge difference in terms of a retinol. But in my experience, when I was going from a retinol OL to a retinaldehyde, a retinal AL, I found the retinals to be less irritating. Now, they could have been just due to the way these were formulated, their popularity, and now in the market, you will see a lot more of them. And as formulations get better, they know to put things in the formulations that will help mitigate some of this irritation and dryness. So you'll see it a lot with ceramides and things like that that are really gonna nourish your skin so you can avoid some of those risk factors. If you don't know, some of the irritation that is possible from a retinoid across the board is redness, peeling, flaking skin, overall dryness, stinging and burning, even when you're putting on other skincare products, and then also purging, meaning your acne might get a little bit worse before it gets better. They refer to this as the retinol uglies phase, but I will be honest, all of those things are so dependent on so many different factors. Just because it sounds really scary, like it makes you not want to ever try retinol, doesn't mean you're even going to experience any effects. Factors include your genetics, environmental effects, so you know, other things in your skin regimen that you've been using can actually affect if you're going to see these irritation side effects. The frequency at which you're using your retinoid, placement in the routine, how you're using it, I feel like is the biggest one. And then also like the strength at which you're starting with. So that's why I'm gonna go into what I would recommend if you are new to all of this, or say you've been using some form of retinoid and you wanna know how to take it to the next level. Okay, after Retinal, which was one step away, is good old retinoic acid. And this is the one you probably hear the most about, Tretinoin. This one is actually prescription only here in the US. No conversion. So it goes into your skin. It is already in its active form of retinoic acid. Therefore, it gives the best results, but it also has the potential to give the most irritation. But also, the most research has been done on Tretinoin. Also, I want to make this very clear. Just because this is what you see all over social media and from dermatologists as the GOAT of like whatever you need to use as far as a retinoid goes, doesn't mean everyone will be able to use this, doesn't mean everyone should be able to use this. There are people who will never be able to use a product this strong. And this is the lowest dose, 0.025%. Then it goes up to 0.5, so on and so forth. I never got past the low dose. But I also didn't introduce myself to it, in my opinion, in the correct way, in the way I'm going to teach you to today, which can make a huge difference. Another one I wanted to mention that I don't have on me today is Adapalene, okay? This one also does not need to be converted. It is otherwise known as Differin. It used to be only by prescription, but now you can get it over the counter. So 0.1% Adapalene, otherwise known as Differin gel, is the best for acne. So if you're like, Sarah, anti-aging is not a concern of mine right now, 100%, that's where I would start. It also regulates skin cell turnover and decreasing inflammation, which is why that one is the best for acne. And it's also photostable. So one of the myths around retinoids in general is that they make your skin more sensitive to the sun. And that might be the case for some types, not all types though. So Differin is one you can actually use in the morning if you needed to. Photostability means that you're gonna put it on and then you go out in the sun and it's actually gonna break down and be ineffective completely in the sun because sun exposure down that retinoid. And Differin is one that does not happen to. Just know that each one is different. Then another one on the market, which is rather newer-ish, but it's funny because this is actually what I started with and I didn't realize at the time how different this was. A good option to start with if you're new to a retinoid. And it's funny because I said you'll never find retinoid on the label, but this one actually is. It says gram-active retinoid. That is not technically the chemical name though, but although you will find that on some labels, I believe the real form you'll see it abbreviated as HPR, and it's hydroxypentacolone retinoate, which is a retinoic acid ester. There's also one called Retinyl retinoate, but gram-active retinoid is what you will see on the Ordinary. This is the first one I ever used, the 2% in squalane. Say as far as strength, this is probably somewhere between a retinol, OL, and retinoic acid. But the thing is, it works differently than the other ones. It doesn't convert in the skin like the rest of those. It actually will bind to the same receptor in the skin that retinoic acid has to bind to. So it works just in a different way. So they say it is very gentle, and I saw great results from this. I would say if you're brand new, it is a really good option, but I just want to let you know that it is kind of a classification in there that's rather new and they're still doing research, but I really like it. Once you get above Tretinoin, it goes into oral, higher potencies like isotretinoin, which is Accutane, which is an oral acne medication. They're all acne when it gets above this guy. All right, now it's time. How do you apply? I feel like one of the biggest reasons why sometimes people experience irritation that is completely unnecessary is because they apply it without any instruction. I'm gonna show you here how I apply it at night. First, obviously, cleanse the skin. The second important thing is to let your skin dry, which I feel like is very different because we're so used to saying, apply your hydration serums and all the things on damp skin, you'll get better penetration. Well, that is true, and that is also why you wanna let your skin dry down about 15 minutes, maybe even more, when you're using a retinoid, especially if you're using one for the first time. First, try clean, dry skin. That damp skin will increase absorption, which also in turn increases irritation. First time you ever apply one, you can definitely just do clean and dry skin and go ahead and go in for it and see if you have any irritation after. But if you are very afraid of getting any kind of irritation, I would try the sandwich method. So the sandwich method is using a moisturizer, then your retinoid, then another layer of your moisturizer. So you sandwich it in between so that you're getting that barrier so it's not gonna absorb as much, therefore reducing irritation. Also, since retinoids tend to dry out your skin, the more moisture you can get, the better. Like if you're not used to using a moisturizer in the morning, for example, and you're starting a retinoid for the first time, just adding a moisturizer in the morning might help you get through that dry, peeling, flaky stage if you come across that. Like, load up on the hydration, your skin will love it. So I do recommend the sandwich method for beginners. I feel like it's the easiest way to avoid that dry. Then you can use an occlusive. So this is also a barrier method. So you could put on your moisturizer and that could be your barrier. Or if you want to try it on clean, dry skin, or maybe you're getting to the point in your schedule where you're no longer going to be putting it on top of a moisturizer, you can use a barrier on just those areas that maybe you've seen irritation or you're avoiding irritation. So the most likely areas are around your mouth, here, chin, that get really dry, peely, and flaky. So you can use any occlusive. So Vaseline, Aquaphor, CeraVe healing ointment, anything like that ointment-like texture to create a barrier. So you're just gonna use a very small amount, kind of like you're slugging, just on those areas, and then you're gonna put on your Retinoid. You can even do the same thing around your eyes. I am prone to milia, so I don't like that Vaseline ointment texture near my eyes because I feel like it increases my chance of milia. So for me, I always put on an eye cream first. That way, as my retinoid kind of travels on my face, it's not going to get too close to my eyes because I'm gonna have some kind of barrier there where it's not gonna travel, if that makes sense. Another tip, if you have microbladed eyebrows and you want your tattoo to last longer, use Vaseline in your brows before putting on your retinoid. Really good brow artists will send you with instructions that you're not supposed to, use a retinoid so many weeks before or after you get your brows done, because it will increase that skin cell turnover and you're gonna lose pigment and your brows are just gonna fade away. So if you want them to last longer, you can also coat your brows, again, in Vaseline, just to give another layer of protection. Or you can just avoid those areas completely when you're applying your retinoid and not get it around your eyes. Stop kind of here at this orbital bone. Again, try it different ways. If you sense some irritation, then you can adjust from there. I know people like to go hard and heavy when they first start. They're excited to see results from a retinoid, but no, this is a long-term goal. There's no rush. I always say low and slow. So the first part of that low means a small amount, okay? If you were to take this like you would any other normal serum and put it all over your face, 100%, you're gonna feel like you have contact dermatitis the next day. You're gonna be peeling, flaking, maybe even not the next day, but very shortly after, okay? The key is a pea-sized amount. And you might not think that a pea size can go all over your entire face, but I'm telling you, no more than that. I feel like that's even generous for your first time use. In fact, every use, pea size, okay? Then you will use the dot method like shown here, where you dot it all over your face and then rub backwards towards the sides of your face so you don't get more in the center where you have the most irritation potential. One thing I don't recommend that I see all the time is people tell you to mix it with your moisturizer. Now, the reason I don't like that is because our hands are not the best mixing tools. Getting a pea size of this mixed perfectly in a manner that is gonna mix it in the same amount all through it, you have no idea. Like a white Tret and a white moisturizer, you will not know if it is evenly distributed in that moisturizer. And so what can happen is it can lead to hot spots, meaning you put it all over your face and then you actually had most of all of your retinoid went on one side of your face or in one part that gave you irritation and you missed part of your face. Like, that is not a good goal, right? So by using the dot method, you can make sure it is strategically evenly placed everywhere. Then you always, always, always put a moisturizer over it. You will need that moisture. You need to hydrate. You need to replenish the ceramides in your skin. So always moisturize last. And obviously, even if it doesn't break down in the sun, Even if it doesn't make your skin more sensitive to the sun, you always want to make sure you're wearing sunscreen the next day, because why go through all of this hassle and pain and possible irritation to look younger if you're just going to reverse all of that good you're doing by exposing your son to the biggest age factor of them all, which is UV exposure. But there is one more option for those, and that is called, if you've ever heard of it, short contact therapy. And that's where you wash your face, you put on your retinoid, say then you go eat dinner or whatever the case may be, and then you wash it off before going to bed. So this is another way to kind of slowly introduce your skin to a retinoid. If you've tried the sandwich method and the introduction that I'm going to talk about here in a sec, and that's still not working for you, but you really want to get the benefits of a retinoid, again, it's going to be a lot of those factors, but sometimes it's the retinoid you're choosing. You could always go down to a gentler version, but short contact therapy has been proven to work as well as a way to slowly introduce an ingredient to your skin. Like I said, this is a long-term goal. It is better to use a lower percentage, be able to slowly work your way up to more than to just use the highest percentage you can get once every month, because then you have to let your skin heal from all the irritation it's giving you, right? So low and slow, long-term goals. It will take you a good 3 to 6 months to start seeing the results, but I'm talking like long-term goals, right? This is like decades later where you're gonna see the results of this. Collagen does not, you know, get synthesized overnight. It takes time. This is really hard for me because I'm not a patient person. I like the skincare that gives me like instant glow, instant results, first time use, and I can see that it's working. But this ingredient does not work that way. Okay, so how are we gonna build up slowly? Create a schedule that can't possibly fail you, right? So here's my schedule. I'm gonna put it. Method is to help you avoid all the possible irritations you possibly can. So obviously everyone's skin's different and everyone's skin reacts differently to a retinoid, but I truly feel if you want to introduce a retinoid, your best bet is to keep your routine simple by cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen in the morning, and a retinoid, and kind of getting rid of actives for a little bit to make sure that that's not creating any kind of irritation potential with your retinol. At least in the beginning, not using anything, especially at the same time. So I always say that retinoids shouldn't be used at the same time as your actives, meaning vitamin C, acids, AHAs, BHAs, fruit enzymes, any kind of manual exfoliation, anything like that that can be irritating to the skin, that can be a little bit more sensitizing, not at the same time as your retinoid. But if you are worried, then you can take it a step further and just eliminate all those things from your routine and just slowly introduce your retinol. Now, eventually, you're gonna be able to add those things back in, and eventually, you might even be able to use them at the same time, the same night as your retinoids. I mean, there are retinoids on the market that are formulated with AHAs in them, and they work beautifully, but I wouldn't recommend them for the beginner because your skin needs to first get used to the retinoid ingredient. So when it comes to your routine, this one I'm gonna show you is, in my opinion, going to be the least possible room for irritation. If you have taken out those other actives, if you are starting with a form of retinoid, you can, you know, that's good for beginners. And following this, you're most likely not gonna see any kind of irritation. Now, everyone's skin's different, so it's hard to put that blanket statement on there, but some people aren't gonna wanna go this slow. They're not gonna wanna create a buffer and put it over moisturizer. And that is up to you. Any point in this process, if you see irritation, I want you to go to the week before and take it down one night a week, or maybe add a moisturizer under it. So here is the schedule. Week 1 and 2, you're gonna do it 1 day a week, okay? For 2 weeks. You're gonna do it over your moisturizer, so you're gonna use the sandwich method to create that barrier while your skin's getting used to the ingredient. Week 3 and 4, you're gonna do it under your moisturizer. So no more barrier. You can still definitely use like an occlusive Vaseline around any of those areas that are just more readily irritated by retinoid ingredients, but you're gonna do it under your moisturizer 1 day a week. Week 5 and 6, you're gonna do it 2 days a week. So say Mondays and Thursdays. And again, you're gonna go back to the sandwich method, slowly introduce it to 2 days a week. Week 7 and 8, 2 days a week under your moisturizer. Again, 9 and 10, up to 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, over your moisturizer, and then weeks 11 and 12, 3 days a week under your moisturizer, and so on and so forth, until you build up until you're getting to whatever your goal is. If your goal is 5 days a week, if your goal is 6 or 7 days a week, if you want to use it every day, go for it. A great goal is to get to the every other day point, so that way you'll still have a few days in there if, say, your skin needs a recovery day. Say your skin's just needs some barrier repair, you can focus on that. I like to keep a couple days for exfoliation. Now, some people love the way their skin cell turnover gets regulated and they don't feel like they need an additional acid exfoliator. I love extra glow and I love what an acid does for my skin. So again, I don't like to use them at the same time as retinoids. I feel like it's just asking for trouble with my barrier because I have sensitive skin and I know my skin by now. It doesn't like it. Learn your skin so well at the end of this process. So whatever your goals may be, you can then work up to that point, not have to do the sandwich method anymore. And then I recommend either going through a whole bottle, then being able to work up to a stronger strength, or you can add in an active, or you can even go to a different type. So if you're at a retinol, you can go up to a retinal, or if you're at a retinal and you want to go to a higher percentage of that retinol, you can go up to a stronger level. Like I said, this is not a race. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Now, me personally, I did not stop all my actives when I introduced a retinol for the first time. I did the cycling method where I was able to just introduce it 1 night a week, and I alternate nights. So I like having that flexibility that if my skin is feeling a little off one day, I can take a night off, kind of let it recover, do a barrier type healing night, and then I can go back in with my retinoid or have an acid exfoliation night, whatever my skin needs. And so I still stick to that to this day. So let's talk options. And I showed you some of them already, but if we're talking a beginner, I would say where to start. First thing you want to kind of look for is, what is your preference as far as, like, retinoids come in so many different types: serums, creams, oils. There are a lot of different ones. So what do you like to apply? I personally like the serum to cream category. I don't necessarily look for it in my final moisturizer because I know I'm gonna put a moisturizer over it to really lock in that moisture. But in the serum, something that layers well, that's what I'm going for. When you're looking for what to start with, you really wanna look for the type of retinoid. Make sure it's very clear what kind you are buying. Sometimes it can be confusing. Like this one, for example, Murad has an entire Retinol line, OL, and now they have a Retinal line, AL, and yet they're all green, and I feel like the packaging looks the same. So just know, like, it will obviously says exactly what kind it is on the bottle, but when you're purchasing online, sometimes you'd be like, oh, that looked like the bottle, but like you're not reading clearly. Just know that what type you are buying. And it's also, I feel like, nice to know the percentage of that formulation. Now, brands don't have to tell you the percentage of retinol in their product, which I think is kind of, I don't really like that, because as a scientist, obviously, I'm looking for percentages. I wanted to know when I was going from one retinol to a different type, if the next one I was buying was stronger or like weaker. I didn't want to go down in strength, right? So the good thing is I feel like more brands are starting to disclose that information, but no, they don't have to. So if you go to their website and you can't find it, it's possible they just don't give that information out. Let's go through every type. I was saying you're a beginner. If you are the most scared of irritation, most scared, you're like, I don't want to go through that red, dry, peeling phase, Sarah. Like I want to avoid it at all costs. I would definitely recommend the Ordinary. Grand Active Retinoid 2% in squalane, which is the oil most similar to our skin's natural oil. So it's actually a very hydrating, but it's almost like an oil serum, and it's very easy to use. I saw zero irritation, and I felt like it kind of set my skin up for being able to use different retinoids after I used this bottle. Now, this one is very popular with a lot of influencers and whatnot. I will say I'm not a big fan of the texture. This is the retinol palmitate, meaning it's got to go through 3 conversions, but can you see? It is like a straight up ointment. It's like Vaseline on your face. If you don't like that feeling, which some people don't, like the tackiness, it's almost like you're slugging your entire face every night. It's not my favorite, and it also does the least. So I would say if you're really scared, you can try this, but it wouldn't be my first option. I would say skip this one altogether. I know this one's really popular. Okay, next 2 are retinols. OL. 2 of them you can get at Target. I would say the difference between these 2 is actually pretty great though. Even though if you were looking at both of them on the shelf, you would be like, okay, like they both are retinoids, right? They're both retinols. The thing is, it's really even hard to tell which one is stronger. Let's go with the easier one first. This is Press Restart Gentle Retinol Serum. This has bakuchiol and encapsulated retinol. So I was asked about bakuchiol the other day. It is a natural retinol alternative. I will be honest, I feel like it needs a lot more research because there's not enough research. When people say it's a natural or alternative to retinol, anything that is marketed as a natural alternative nothing has the research that retinol has. Nothing. Is advertising is that they can't prove that. There are no studies to prove that it can do the exact same things, because it can't. Now, I'll be honest, it's something I recommend if you are pregnant. So another myth is you can't use retinoids while breastfeeding, but that is not true. You can use it while breastfeeding, but when you're pregnant, do not. Bakuchiol is considered safe when pregnant. When you're breastfeeding, you can go back to using your retinoid. There has been no research to show otherwise. When you see it combined with a retinol, I would say that's a good bet. People love bakuchiol because there's like no irritation at all with it. There are some studies to show it can do some things in similar ways, but again, it works very differently. But when I see it in a formulation together, I like that. It's like the best of both worlds. It's gonna just add to its efficacy, right? So I like this one because it's encapsulated. Online I found it is at 0.03% retinol, okay? Now, the difference is that this one has 3 different types. If I had to pick something that I felt like would be very gentle, I would pick this. It's literally designed for a beginner. It says beginner retinol gel, and I do like the gel formulation of this as well. It's very easy to apply. So this one by Coco Kind, it says 0.1%, but that's not entirely accurate because it's 3 different ones. It's got a tri-retinoid complex, has retinol, a time-released retinal, okay, which is 1 step up, which is going to make it a little bit stronger, but it is encapsulated. And then also the Grand Active Retinoid. It has this in it as well. So I just like this formulation because it's got 3 kinds. They're all rather low percentages, but it does have, it just kind of like covers all the bases. And you guys know me, I have a thing with calming ingredients. This has aloe and my favorite ingredient ever, which is Centella asiatica, which is known for healing the skin. And so because of those 2 things, it's the formulation that matters. Like I said, that's going to really help decrease the level of irritation and allow you to use something easier, longer, without side effects. So out of these 2, I really like that this one's got bakuchiol in it, but the formulation of this one, I would say, if you were a very beginner, you just want to start with a retinol that you can get at Target, I would probably go with the cocoa kind. The next category is going to be hard for me because this is my favorite of all of the types, and this is Retinal or Retinaldehyde. So here I'm gonna kind of take you through my process of what I've tried. I started with this Obagi, very overpriced in my opinion, very silicone-y texture, felt really great going on. I literally could not even find out what the percentage of it is in this. Now, the cool thing is that it does have vitamin C and E in it, so it's like it's well formulated. This is the Retivance by Obagi. A lot of people who are using Tretinoin use this as like an eye cream because it is much gentler. I could not use it like that. It does have some calming ingredients and well, it's well formulated. I wish I knew what percentage was in it though. So once I graduated, I went straight from this guy to this guy. Kind of just skipped retinols altogether. And I didn't see irritation. So I will say it was probably well formulated, but I have no idea what percentage this is, which kind of bothers me. This is a new release from Murad, and I really like the formulation. It feels great. I cannot find any information about what exactly percentage is in this. Now, it does have really, like, the formulation is really good. It's very calming, all those things. They even have an entire line to get you kind of started with the retinol, and then you can upgrade to the Retinal, which I appreciate. It even has an eye cream, and it's very luxe, like glass packaging. It's very nice. I wish percentages were disclosed. After this, I went to this Youth to the People. I love this. I have shared this numerous times. Retinal plus niacinamide use serum. And it is a pretty high percentage of retinal. So this has 0.15% stabilized retinaldehyde and a 5% niacinamide, which is about as high as you want to go with the niacinamide. And then a lot of ceramide so that it's comforting. And I really liked the like serum-y texture. It went on really good. The yellow really dissipates very quickly. I really loved this one. And so I kind of went through the whole bottle and wanted to try something else, but I liked it. Now, this is another good one that's a little bit weaker. So if you're scared to go in with 0.15, which 0.15 is actually pretty strong for Retinal. This May Love Moonlight, this has won all kinds of awards. It's really good, and it's a great texture, like a really thin, watery, yes, that yellow is the Retinal. It's typically yellow, so they all should be yellow. This one is a 0.11% encapsulated retinol. The encapsulation is really important at that retinol so that it gets into the skin. And again, it's more of that time-released formula. So this one is very affordable, way more affordable than any of the other ones. I would say it would be amazing if you're wanting to like get started with the lowest irritation and lowest amount of money and go from one to the next to the next. Ordinary's very cheap. Cocoa Kind, very affordable. Then you could go to May Love, very affordable. I think this is like 30 or 40 bucks. And this bottle will last you a really long time. Retinals, like you don't have to go up to prescription level. You can just stick with a Retinal. I typically like to stay there. Like that is where my skin is happy and healthy, and I'm kind of scared to try it again, to be honest. But I wanted to see like how high I could get. So I'm using this, and then I want to graduate to their highest level. But I have seen time and time again where the GOAT of all retinols, Retinaldehydes, is the Medic 8 Crystal Retinal. So I finally tried it, and it's very good. The formulation is amazing. It has a twin encapsulated retinol, so it's like doubly encapsulated. It's got kind of this golden color. Now, the lighter ones aren't as yellow. So the cool thing about Medic, why I kind of wanted to use it, is because you know exactly what you're getting. They have Crystal Retinol 1, which is 0.01%. Then they have 3, 6, 10, 20. And they say go through a bottle, then you can like graduate to the next strength. And so since I was using this one, which is 0.15, I was scared to go straight to the 0.2 because this is supposedly very pure and stronger than most in comparison. So I decided to go ahead and start with the 10. And when I get through this, I'm gonna go up to the 20, which is as high as it goes in the retinal categories. But that's at 0.2%. It's very stable. It is such a beautiful formulation. I can't recommend this enough. Yes, it is a little bit pricier, and they go up in price depending on what the concentration is. Obviously, you know, ingredients aren't cheap, so makes sense. I wanted to mention a couple other ones that also are options at good price points. So the other one is Naturium. Naturium has 2 retinaldehydes. Both I've heard nothing but amazing things about. And if you wanted to start a little bit lower, they have a 0.05, which would be a great starting point. So if you get through this and you want something weaker than going just straight in with 0.11, the Naturium is 0.05 retinol. And then you can graduate to the 0.1, which is still a little bit lower than the Mela. And then I'm dying to try also the Ordinary. Just came out with one. It's 15 bucks, but it is a 0.2, which is technically stronger than what I'm using right now. But I've heard amazing things, that it's very gentle and well formulated, and the price point can't be beat. It's not a very big container, but if you are slowly working your way up using that system, it's gonna last a long time, because you're, you know, and at that price, like, right? Like, how many bottles could you get for the same as this? Now, I'm not saying the formulations are comparable, because sometimes you pay what you get is what you get, but like Ordinary has great formulations. So I'm just saying, I'm gonna probably try that one next. I'm just very curious. And then again, like I said before, different. If acne is your goal, there's nothing better for acne. So the 0.1% Adapalene gel from Differin, again, over the counter. If I had a teenager dealing with acne, that is what I would give him or her, 100%. I would, again, start them low and slow according to that plan. Since I've shared this recently, and I actually just got asked about using this and using another retinoid, I have been using the Remedy for dark spots. This does have retinol, OL. It's at a 0.1% encapsulated retinol. I use this for the formula. The fact that it has a gazillion great ingredients for my dark spots, but it isn't the strongest retinoid, right? It's like, this is gonna do better for my anti-aging side. This specifically for my dark spots. So again, like I said, you don't have to use them every single day. I wouldn't use these at the same time. This can be way too much for your skin, but you can alternate. So you can use this one night, this the next night, take a night off for recovery, take a night off to exfoliate, whatever the case may be. But alternation is amazing if you're wanting to use multiple products. And last but not least, I just said that this one has, Murad has this eye cream. This is a Retinal. Again, I don't know the percentage. There's also a good drugstore if you're wanting to use a retinol around your eyes. Obviously, the skin around our eyes is much thinner, much more sensitive to irritation. I have eye dermatitis. I don't need anything else to increase the look of peeling, redness, sensitivity around my eyes. So I am very careful what I put around my eyes. This Rock Retinol is kind of a gold standard for a drugstore retinol eye cream. My favorite that you hear me talk about all the time is this Beauty of Joseon. And this is the Revive Eye Serum Ginseng plus Retinal. So it is the stronger form. Granted, I cannot find the percentage, but I did find that it is stabilized by that liposomal technology, which it's you see it in a lot of K-beauty brands to where it's like encapsulated in a liposome. It helps penetration into the skin because again, things are not easily going into our skin, guys. Like it takes a lot of cosmetic chemists, a lot of work to get stuff to actually penetrate. So I still love this. This is what I will use. It says the Retinal liposome is at 2%. As I was just going through all this, none of this is at 2%. Like the strongest one is at 0.2. So it's hard for me to say like what percentage of retinol is actually in this, but I love it. No sensitivity. I feel like the gel formulation is really good. If you're wanting to try to use something as a barrier around your eyes, but you still want to get that anti-aging benefit of a retinoid, this is the one I would recommend. We're talking full body. I've got 2 body creams. I love both of these. I don't even know if I could really pick between the 2 because they both have really just amazing added ingredients. So the first one's another Naturium. This is their skin renewing retinol body lotion. It is an encapsulated retinol. It has other things like allotonin, shea butter to really keep your skin hydrated. But again, this is going to slowly give you that benefit of a retinoid. It's just your body is much more sensitive to retinoids than your face. Like you can't necessarily take Tret and pull it down your neck and chest. You're gonna get a lot of irritation in these regards. So some people that use Tretinoin on their face will then go in with something like a Retinal on their neck and chest so they can still see some benefits, but it's not gonna cause irritation. I'm not to that point yet. I like to use a Retinol on my body to kind of help with like crepiness, skin cell turnover, all of those things. You know, sun damage is definitely something that I've had forever. So this one doesn't give me a percentage, but I do really like it. It is fragrance free. And I love this cocoa kind one. This one does tell you it's at 0.05%. I thought I saw somewhere that this is that same percentage, but then I couldn't find it on their website. So I'm not really sure, but this one's got the same thing, ceramide, squalane, shea butter. I love they use less plastic waste by using this cool cap like this. Still sits flat, but less waste. So both of these, fragrance free, both of them full body. I like both. Really don't know if I could pick a favorite between the 2. I don't really notice a whole lot of difference. Like if I was to put one on one arm and one on the other, I can't tell. So either are good options, both target. Yes. So last but not least, the last myth is that a retinoid is only working if your skin's peeling. And that is 100% not true. Your goal should be to avoid as much of that as possible and hopefully all of it by using some of these tips. Picking a nice low dose, a type that's not gonna cause irritation. Formulation does matter, so if you don't like the formula you're using, there are lots of options out there. Constantly they're coming out with new ones, right? Make sure you're not over applying, using some different application methods to kind of increase your irritation potential, whether that's the sandwich method, the dot method, all of those things I still do to this day. Like I'm never gonna be applying more of my retinoid than's needed. And again, low and slow is the name of the game. This is long-term marathon, right? So slowly introduce it, and I promise you can get at least some type. Now, I'm not saying everyone's gonna be able to work their way up slowly and get all the way to this bad guy. I don't even know if I'm going to, or if I'll ever be able to get to the highest percentage of Tret, but hopefully with these tips, you are a little bit closer to knowing what to do if that is your goal. If you have any questions at all about retinoids in general, or how to start, or anything I missed, just drop it in the comments below. I'm happy to help. And as always, thank you guys for being here. Love you. See you next week.